Welcome to Haul Yeah Comics. My name is Nate, and I have issues. Today's issues come from a long box that I need to integrate into my personal collection. And as I was getting this ready, there were just some books in there that I'm excited about and some runs that I'm getting kind of close to finishing. So I'm going to show off the books here. So just to get started, I've got some Batman that I bought purely for the cover. This was a cover buy because it's lenticular, because Batman changes. And that's a really stupid, gimmicky thing that they used to do back in the 90s a lot. And it's back. Remember lenticular covers? Well, they're back. And they're still stupid. But these were like $1 each. And I like how this one goes from like Batman, let's see if I can capture that. It goes from like Batman the Animated Series to Ben Affleck's Batman from the terrible Zack Snyder movies. So anyway, $1 a piece, who cares? I also got for the Batman and Robin, continuing the story, I've got number 2 and number 3. Now this next book is definitely a cover buy and a nostalgia buy. This is by Marvel. This is Bill and Ted's Excellent Comic Book, issue number 1. I don't think there's any value in this at all, seeing as I got it out of a dollar bin, but I just kind of thought that maybe Mrs. Hall, yeah, would like to check this out. She has a thing for 80s nostalgia, and if she doesn't, it's still something that I'm happy to have in my collection. Some Batman and the Outsiders. Now, I noticed that I still didn't take these out of the flea market bag that they were in with the price on it, and I think that's because I'm not 100% sure I'm going to keep these. I'm mostly sure that I'm not going to collect this series anymore. It's just not for me. It's a book that I started collecting thinking that it was something that I would be into. Mike Barr is a solid writer. Jim Aparo art. It's not that, it's just that the sum of its parts don't really equal a whole that I want to continue with. It was not as good as I had hoped. So there's issue 3 and 4. And then the last issue with Batman, I also have, number 32, and I do like this cover quite a bit. Batman's leaving his team. Oh, poor Geoforce. You know, you got to feel for him because he's Geoforce. So a lot of C-listers on this team, Metamorpho's on this team. I love Metamorpho. Like I said, it just didn't click with me, so it's probably a book I'm not going to continue collecting. And then I have an issue number 36, which this is after Batman's gone, and they just started calling it Adventures of the Outsiders. All right, so now let's talk Blue Beetle. I've got issue 1 here, and I've got quite a bit from his run. It's a run I've been trying to put together for a while, and I've kind of cobbled it together from different shows and places that I've gone and seen some issues. It's not an expensive series at all. You can get this book, and mine's in very good shape. I would call this Fine Plus, but there's just not a lot of value in this. This is not his first appearance. So I loved the Giffen DeMatteis Justice League era, you know, this iconic cover, this team of C-list characters. And so because of the universe that they kind of created, I started branching out and I wanted to collect these other books. Blue Beetle, we'll see Dr. Fate here in just a minute. If they had a series from this era, the characters that they were, I tried to pick it up. So currently, you know, in this run here, we've got Blue Beetle number 1. I've got Blue Beetle number 5. This one has the question. I believe Blue Beetle's first appearance, Ted Kord Blue Beetle's first appearance, was in a question comic while they were still at Charleston. His first appearance in DC is Crisis on Infinite Earths number 1, which I do have. Got Blue Beetle number 6. Number 13, the Prometheus, whoever that is. Is that what they called him? Yeah, Prometheus Unbound. Actually, that's not the character's name. I think that's just the title. Blue Beetle, number 17. He's fighting a villain called Overthrow, whose superpower is, you remember that game as kids? It had like this hoop net thing on a stick. It was plastic, and you would throw a wiffle ball back and forth, and you would catch it in the thing and then throw it to the next person. It's the same thing that they made Crow's head from in Mystery Science Theater 3000. Well, that's his literal like power. So he scoops up bullets and then throws them back at you. His name is Overthrow, and it's just a great, memorable villain. He's not. Blue Beetle number 18. We've got Blue Beetle versus Blue Beetle. Dan Garrett versus Ted Kord. We've got issue number 20. And then issue number 22, which was an issue so nice, I bought it twice. I didn't really mean to, but I've got 2 copies. So It happens. This is near the end of the series. The series only had a 25 issue run, and I'm going to put the whole 25 together. This is the closest to the end that I have. This is number 23. I like this cover. This one has Ted fighting the Madmen, who are one of his early villains from the early, I think issue 2 was their first appearance or something. So anyway, kind of a cool cover. And then I do have the first 2 issues of the most recent Blue Beetle series. So Jaime Reyes as the Blue Beetle. It didn't hold my interest, so it wasn't something that I decided I was going to stick with. I'll throw these in the PC and I'll see if I keep them or eventually I might get rid of them. So the next group of comics is some individual issues of Booster Gold, another from that Giffen and DeMatteis era. So I've got issue 6, issue 10, issue 21. This one's close to the end as well. He was another one who only ran for 25 issues. This one has his sister. I remember her, I don't remember her name, but I remember her from A Who's Who. Then we got issue 22, which is pretty cool, guest starring the Justice League of the era. I see Captain Atom and Mr. Miracle and Rocket Red, Guy Gardner, super cool. Booster Gold number 23, guest starring Superman. Number 24, and the final issue of the series, number 25. So that's a series that I have quite a few of, and I probably still have 10 or so issues to track down. And it's not a hard one to find. Issue 1 is actually pretty expensive now because of everybody wanting it because they say that they're doing a show on HBO, although I haven't heard anything about that. All right, this, Brave and the Bold. I do like to pick up Brave and the Bolds when I can because I love a good team-up book and I love Batman. And this one happens to have, you know, my 2 favorite DC characters for the most part, Batman and the Flash on here. This one is rough though. I mean, if you look, it's really beat up, but there's an advantage to having a book in this kind of shape is that you can kind of read it guilt-free. So this is from 1966. It's 12 center and it's just great Silver Age fun. A couple more Brave and the Bolds I've picked up. I've got number 125 here, another Batman Flash team up. This one is actually from my personal collection, and the only reason it's in here is because I knew it needed another bag and board. And this is Batman and Hawk and Dove, and this is it's a childhood book. I have some books from my childhood that have somehow survived several moves, even to different states and back, and this is one of them. And you can just see if you really look at it that it's beat up because I read it front and back. It's got a big tear on there, but this was my first introduction to the characters of Hawk and Dove. I've got a Brave and the Bold where Batman teams up with the Riddler of all people, and this was a cool one. I like when Batman or anybody has to, you know, kind of do that Hannibal Lecter thing and team up with a villain to solve a mystery. And this is just a great cover too. I love the skeleton Batman, and to me, I think that's Jim Aparo, maybe. But maybe it's Neil Adams. I'm not sure who the cover artist. I'm not sure who the cover artist is on this one, but I really like it. This one is another one from the personal collection. This is not a childhood book, but it's one that I've had a long time. It's very beat up, and it was in here just to get a new bag and board. So this is Batman and Brave and the Bold. This was issue number 200, an anniversary issue. It's good to have a book this beat up because you can read it without worrying about damaging it any further. And then Mark Waid, you know, did a Brave and the Bold series more recently, and George Perez art. I pick these up when I can, when I see them for a good price as well. So I'm not going to stop there. I've done Booster Gold. I've done Blue Beetle, Ted Kord. Well, there's another really important character from the Giffen DeMatteis era, and that's Captain Atom. Another book with a 25-issue run, and I'm putting his run together as well because anybody from that book is somebody that I want to read the books that were around them as well. There's crossovers and things. So we got issue 5, starring one of my favorites who I can't believe didn't end up in the Justice League. How did Firestorm not end up in that era of the Justice League? I don't know. It seems like we were robbed. This is a cool cover. I'm not sure what he's fighting here, but it looks rough. So we got Captain Atom issue number 6, issue number 8, kind of an almost negative space cover here, not quite, but cool. Issue 10, and they weren't lying. Captain Atom does not appear in this book. This is issue number 11. This is another team up with Firestorm. This is a Millennium crossover, so if you remember that miniseries, I don't really. I have some of it. Got issue 12. And I'm not sure if this next one is a first appearance or not, but I know that he was, this guy was all over the 80s and 90s, and who knows what happened to him. We got Major Force. Issue number 21, we're going full Rambo. We're just going to hold an Uzi. Actually, that's probably more of a Chuck Norris thing, like that movie Invasion USA, where he comes in with double Uzis. We got issue number 22. And issue number 23. So again, there's 25 issues in this series, and I got myself up to that far. So this next book is just a great cover. I don't know if I have this one in the PC already or not. This one is a newsstand. It's Crisis on Infinite Earths number 9. George Perez can pack so much into a panel. It's absolutely insane. And, you know, you can pore over this book and just try to figure out who everybody is on certain pages. And I think that's half the fun. So Crisis, if you read during the 80s, you know that this was how they kind of streamlined their multiverses that they had going on. And they literally took everything and every character that they had, and they determined what they were going to do with them. And they destroyed whole universes, and they killed characters off. And this is, it was a 12-issue story that took place over an entire year. And this is one of my favorite covers from the series. I think it is just really cool how much he was able to pack in there. There's a couple Marvel books here that we'll take a look at. I am collecting the 50-issue run of Darkhawk. This is Darkhawk Annual number 2. I actually have this one, but it's sealed in a poly bag, and I wanted to keep it sealed, so I got this one so that I could have a reader copy. So this is Annual 2. There were only 2 annuals. This is Dazzler number 15. Now, I think this one's a cool cover because I think it's Bill Sienkiewicz's first cover. It's not the painterly style that he does on, you know, the ones he's most famous for, the Michael Jackson Thriller knockoff, and just, you know, several of them that are just really indicative of that era. So this one is hand-drawn by him. The next one, however, is one of his painted covers, and this is issue number 28. And he really did get kind of popular for doing covers in this style. He added that realism, and, you know, Dazzler is just a silly book, but this cover and his artwork gave it some gravitas. Whenever I can, I pick up a DC Comics Presents, and this one is cool. You know, it's the Superman companion to Brave and the Bold. So Batman is team up in Brave and the Bold, and Superman you team up with in DC Comics Presents. And this one I just think is odd because he teams up with the House of Mystery. So you can see that, I mean, it is what it is. And this one also has a preview of Atari Force, a very strange 80s DC comic. But I thought this was an interesting team up. The next two are DC Comics, DC versus Marvel. So DC versus Marvel, I've got number 1 and I've got number 2. It was a 4-issue series in the 90s, and you know, there's been some interest in this recently, and the price has gone up. I got these out of, I'm sure, dollar bins. Number 1 has some damage on the bottom. It's not, you know, it's not the worst I've ever seen. And then number 2. And then some more Marvel. I've got some Defenders. So I picked up, Defenders is one of the Marvel runs I really do like. You want to talk about C-listers, man, they're in here. We've got Hellcat, we've got Nighthawk, we've got Namor, son of freaking Satan. Where is he? There he is with his pitchfork. So these are some characters that they couldn't carry their own book, but they somehow carry one together. And they're fun reads. So I've got issue 100, we've got issue 117, and then in the 90s, instead of the Defenders, they had the Secret Defenders. And this book is so 90s and so terrible. And I picked it up because who is on the team? There they are. down here in the corner, you might be able to see that that is Jack Monroe, the Nomad. I'm putting his run together, his 25 issue run, as something I collect. And so then when I find out that he's in something like this, I mean, this is a book you can find in 50-cent book. You might be able to find dealers who just want to give you that. My next 3 books, unfortunately not 4, I'm missing the 4th issue, are the Demon miniseries from late 80s, drawn by Matt Wagner. But these covers are great. I remember this book. So number 1, number 2, and number 3. And it is a 4-issue set, and unfortunately I don't have the 4th issue, but it's something that I will plan to track down so that I can have the complete set in my collection. All right, so I think I'm going to wrap it up after this next chunk, and I've gone ahead and set a book aside to be my last one, my closer. It's a pretty good book. So first, we're going to go into some detective comics. These are just random ones I picked up. I know I'm never going to put a set of detective or Batman together. Too pricey, too hard. But whenever I see ones that I don't have and they're a decent price, I pick them up. So we've got number 452. Number 453. This one I think is pretty cool. I love when they did these backup features, and we've got an elongated man backup feature, and he's just, he's such a character that couldn't carry their own book, but, he was in Justice League Europe, and he's a Flash character. Next I have issue number 488, and this one is really beat up, but it's also a really thick issue. It's like double sized or maybe even triple. So this one here has 5 stories in it. And I liked when they would do that as well, that you would get kind of things broken up. You didn't have to read one long big book. And again, we have an extra with the elongated man. You just can't get a good elongated man story. This one is a childhood book. This one is so beat up. This is Detective Comics number 502. If you can see, this thing is rolled. It is just destroyed. And I read this so many times as a kid because it was one of my few Batman comics. It focuses a lot on Alfred and his history as a resistance fighter, as a soldier, which I kind of feel like got touched on a little bit in the Dark Knight movie. This thing has traveled with me all over the place, and I would love to upgrade the copy at some point, but I'll never get rid of this one because this is the one that I read as a kid. I've got issue 568. A little morbid here. We got Batman hanging by his cape with some vultures trying to eat his face. I really like the cover to this one. This is Detective Comics number 580. This is a Mike Barr written issue, and I just like Two-Face on the cover. I like the composition. Then we're getting into some more I say modern. It's still the 90s, so it's 20 plus 30 years away. That's depressing. We got a Sam Keith cover of Detective. I really like Sam Keith's art, always have. And then this one here is a Kelly Jones, number 663, Batman covered with rats. I remember reading, this one's a pretty fun read, and yeah, Batman is trying to escape through the sewers, and he's covered in rats. It's just horrible. Let's get into another character from the Giffen DeMatteis run of Justice League. Somebody else. Let's get into some Dr. Fate. So this is, during the 80s, there were like several smaller runs of Dr. Fate. There was like a 4-issue miniseries, and this one here is a 3-issue miniseries. This is the Immortal Dr. Fate. It doesn't seem like Dr. Fate can carry a book for very long, but they seem to always greenlight these little series. So this is issue 1. As far as I know, it's the only one I have from this run. Sometimes it's hard for me to find these books because I'm not sure which ones are part of which series, but at least that one has a different title. Then we've got the J.M. DeMatteis written and scripted Dr. Fate ongoing series from the 90s. And I have issue 3. This makes me so mad. I have issue 6 with a freaking 25-cent sticker right on the book. I swear someday I'm going to figure out how to get these stickers off, but it was like, I almost shouldn't have bought them, because I bought these books because I couldn't pass them up because they were a quarter, but then it makes me so mad that sticker's on there and you can't get the sticker off because if you take the sticker off, the sticky remains. Somebody said you could use Goo Gone on these stickers. And I mean, I'm a little afraid to do that because that stuff's pretty oily, but I guess I'll have to find a book that I really don't care about that's got a sticker on it and give that a try. Here's Dr. Fate number 14. Dr. Fate number 15, starring some Justice League teammates. Pretty cool. And then, did I mention The Elongated Man yet? Did you know he had a miniseries? And it was really bad, and I only ever picked up the first one because I didn't really care about it. And then I found the other 3 issues of it in a dollar bin, and I went ahead and bought it, because why not? Why not read the whole thing? So, Elongated Man, Europe 92. Him and his wife go on a European vacation, and he goes and solves crimes, probably as a detective, because that was his thing. Issue 3, and issue 4. I have since finished this run, but this was a series, speaking of the Giffen DeMatteis era, Fire and Ice, Welcome to Smallville, issues 1 and 2. And there are a lot of characters from the Giffen run that show up, and it was a fun little read. So this was one that I added to my collection as well. I promised you that I save something back. It's not like it's, earth-shattering, but this is an old 12 center. It's one of my favorite covers. It's a Detective Comics. It's one that I forget that I own it, because for the longest time I would see it as a joke. And it's Detective Comics number 371, Batgirl's Costume Cut-Ups. And the joke is that Batgirl can't help solve the crime because she's got a run in her tights. And women, even superhero women, are more concerned with how they look than how they can perform their job. It's horribly sexist. As a key issue, it's also the first appearance of the Batman TV show Batmobile in comics, but just as like a time capsule, this is, I love Barbara Gordon Batgirl, and this is what was acceptable in a certain time. It's not acceptable now. You keep it as a reminder. Ooh, and people wonder, well, why are comics and why is nerd culture such a boys club sometimes? Well, figure it out. So those are going to be today's books. I'm going to stop there because I'm honestly running out of spit. Thanks for watching this haul video. I'm going to go ahead and get these filed, and I'll make another video of some of the rest. If you watched this long, I appreciate it. I guess of the ones I've gone through so far, which one is your favorite? Which one do you think is the coolest book that I've got in the first third of this long box? I'll finish up and go through the rest of it. I appreciate you sticking around. Give me a follow, leave a comment, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.